Welcome back to Wyckoff Labs. Today we are going behind the trades. As of now, we are taking one of my trades. We will analyze it. We have 6 points of evaluation and a total score. And basically we want to understand what happened, the logic, and how we can improve in the future.
Pressure in my chest, Wick try to take me, I ain't leaving yet. Green candle stacking like bricks on a house.
If you want me to analyze one of your trades, send me a screenshot with your logic and your thoughts at the email on the monitor right now, and I will analyze it in the next video. Alright, let's get going. Today we have Tesla. 5 minutes time frame. Before we go in the trade itself, we want to understand what happened in the chart and why my point of entry and my point of exit were where they are. Previous days we had a distribution trading range right here. Because of that we pushed down very aggressively with a stopping action into this huge support. This was probably hourly support. And that's why we started looking at Tesla. As we were close to the support, we wanted to see if any demand comes in. After seeing this push up with this volume, this push up with even higher volume, we do understand that supply is hidden and we will probably go down from here. This stopping action right here, it's very similar to the rest of them, but then we are stopping. We are not ready to stop completely at that time, and that's why we have another push down, because this was so aggressive, so we have to at least test that into a next and new low. But right after that, right here, we start to have similar volumes and a very strong push up into this last high. We are taking that as a trading range right here, where we improve the demand from previous, probably even before that. That was the best demand spot since a couple days previous. That's a very good sign. The second point of why I was looking into this is that after this demand came in, we had a lot of supply trying to retest the lows and not capable. Just the opposite, we stopped at the previous, at the higher low than the previous one. And to correct, actually was not so much supply, we are exhausting comparing to these other very big points. Alright, now after that, what do we have? Everything dies. Demand and supply dies, and we are accumulating little by little going up. If we are taking this point, this rally, and we are comparing to this one, it's clear that this is the best rally for now. We have some spikes right here, we have these huge candles, and then we are stopping action right here for a new retest. Great. This, as of right now, indicates the most the most demand that we had, with a very strong push up above that previous resistance, came back down into this now support, and immediately, look at this candle, immediately demand came in and pushed above. This was overnight and pushed and opened the market, I believe, this red candle right here, and my entry point was at 9:43, so 13 minutes after the market opened. I saw this small candle here. Let me make it a little bit larger. I saw this small candle here with less volume and immediately pushed the volume back up after the supply tried to retest these highs, these lows. What else do we see? Previous low not capable of reaching, we are seeing improvement of trust and improving of the stopping action towards down. Great. At this point we are entering right here, and we have at 1 minute we still have a trading range right there, very volatile in that day. So we will talk about the point of entry soon. After that I entered and I had to go, and basically I came back somewhere here. Here we have a very big resistance, probably the hourly resistance that for some reason is not showing up, but I will remind you. And that was my exit. We saw this big push up that was weaker than this other one on higher volume, saying that there is some stopping action at an important resistance. We could have waited to see if there would be any other attempt to push up, but as we saw in the previous spots, there will be only one and then a rejection, one and a rejection, one, no rejection, but it could have been, and I got out immediately at that second bar. Again, I was not very in the charts during that day. All right, 6 points of evaluation. 1, the bias. The bias did go up the way that I predicted right here. So I will give 100%. We have the timing. We did have a small trading range right here. If you go and you look into the 1 minute time frame, with a lot of volatility right here. If I would have waited more than this bar, and probably I would have come into this bar with low volume, that will probably be a much better entry point for me and my risk. Even better could have actually been into these 2 bars that shows exactly the same thing. There was no volume and no push down. I did enter a little bit early, so I will give it 50%. All right. Character. When I entered, I expected that somewhere in this area we will have a similar push up. We did end up having a similar push up, but much later. So I will give myself only 50% of the character prediction, just because my entry point was a little bit too early and expected too early the character. Overall, the character ended up to happen the way that I wanted, and that's why I'm giving myself 50%, but not 100%. All right, good. The point of entry, it's a pretty good point of entry right here when we see that there was an attempt to push down, but they were not capable of pushing any lower than the previous low. We're talking about bar by bar. So I will give myself a 100% entry point, although we said previously that the timing was a little bit early and would have been a few other points better. All right, the stop loss. The stop loss was somewhere here. I had a very high risk of actually getting kicked out by the stop loss. But this last bar pushed down and it stopped a few ticks away from my stop loss. Therefore, I do think that my stop loss was a really good point and was not very big. Therefore, I was able to enter at higher amount of shares. As bigger you make the stop loss, more risk you have, less shares you have to buy in order to keep your 1 or 2% ratio. And therefore, I will give myself, as we said, 100% on the stop loss. Last point of the evaluation, it's the exit. After this very big push up as a really good character, right here we had the resistance that we talked about before. And that was my first sign of getting out. The second was this very big volume coming from this other volume that is similar as height, but multiple more bars here. So I will say that this has more volume than this one and took longer time, so harder to go up comparing to the previous one. In other words, we are getting exhausted, demand is getting weaker, and supply is getting a little stronger. That doesn't mean that we are going down from here, but having a resistance somewhere here nearby, the best way for me was to get out. I will say that my exit was 100% because we are seeing what happened next. And the only other better point to exit would have been in this area with all of this risk and this time spent. It's not worth it knowing that you have resistance nearby. All right, so after all of this, the total score is 83%. So I will say that this is a clean trade. If you want me to analyze your trade, please send me a screenshot at the email below with your reasoning and your thoughts, and I will analyze your chart in the next video. Alright, thank you guys, and I will see you next week.